The public wasn't told anything about the real aims and objectives of the CIA's, really they call it a mind control research program, but it was really just a control research program. Mind, behavior, individual, society, global. And when the revelations came out in the 70s, they dazzled the public with tales of Manchurian candidates and spy versus spy and Korean brainwashing techniques, and they purposefully flung all their dirty laundry around, salacious tales of prostitute halfway houses and LSD being administered to unwitting people just to see what would happen. The technocratic, cybernetic New World Order that's unfolding all around us right now has always been about total world domination. And it connects to every other conspiracy you can possibly think of, and that very much includes Agenda 21. And when you really start to research just what's been declassified, just the information that's out there, when you read the documents yourselves and you start really looking through the books and the writings of some of these people, and you realize all of this, it's pretty clear that this is one of the biggest threats that we actually face today. Behind all the stuff they tell you in the media, behind all the other stuff that's going on that they flash in front of your face to distract you, this is a serious situation. This is something so much bigger than the CIA trying to make Manchurian candidates. That being said, here are two things that always stuck out to me about the MKUltra program that I think went widely overlooked and ignored by everyone, but that are hugely important. Neither of these things come from the boilerplate sub-project documents, which it was later admitted in the testimony were indeed boilerplates, meaning they purposefully did not explain the true details and goals of the actual sub-projects themselves. These things actually come from little snippets of testimony at the joint hearing before the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence in August 1977. Note that at this hearing, they steered most of the conversation into things relating to drugs. And the reason that's so important is going to become apparent in a moment. So the first thing is Dr. Geschichter of the Geschichter Foundation for Medical Research, who acted as a cutout for CIA funds for the MKUltra program for almost 20 years, brought up a very important point in his testimony that caused Senator Ted Kennedy to almost immediately change the subject. In a passage where Geschichter is discussing NIH involvement, and the National Institutes of Health were very, very involved, he notes that part of what they were doing was purposefully causing amnesia with concussions, but then he says the other, which was funded through this later business, was the use of radar to put monkeys to sleep. To see if they could be, should I say, instead of Mickey Finn, they could be put under with radar directed toward the monkey brain. And Senator Schweiker says, could they? And Geschichter says, did they go to sleep? And Schweiker says, yes. And then Geschichter says, yes, sir, but Senator, it showed if you got into too deep a sleep, you injured the heat center of the brain the way you cook meat, and there was a borderline there that made it dangerous. And then immediately Senator Kennedy says, now there's a discussion in the memoranda as to how to hide contributions so no additional taxes would be paid by you. He completely changes the subject instantly. Geschichter just admitted that the CIA and the National Institutes of Health were doing studies using radar to put animals to sleep, and they never followed up on that. That is insane, and they never brought that up again. They never questioned him further on that. Kennedy changed the subject, which was his whole job as the front man of this ridiculous testimony here, and that was it. And for other projects within the MKUltra program, after the initial goals were completed, the whole thing was then rolled into a new program based on those findings under other agencies. Things like DARPA's Project Pandora, which started in the mid-60s and involved, guess what? Beaming monkeys with radar. And not just to put them to sleep. But the findings of that and the effects on the central nervous system, those kinds of things, those are still classified to this day. No one ever followed up on the electromagnetic radiation experiments. And information regarding what certain extremely low frequencies did to monkeys in that Pandora project, like I said, still classified to this day. And every once in a little while, you'll see a tidbit of info come out Things like this paper that came out in December 2013, which had to do with the Russian MK-Ultra twin program that was going on, where they talk about the biological effects of weak electromagnetic emissions and things like that. And in the paper itself, they note that in 1973, a Russian military unit 71592 established an installation radio sonde, which sounds a lot like radio sonde. They conducted pre-test, and the positive results are reflected in the acts of test of the military unit. And according to calculations in 1974, the generator radio sonde can effectively treat, quote unquote, a city of 100 square kilometers, plunging the inhabitants into a deep sleep at a distance of up to 55 kilometers away from the transmitter. They could put whole towns of people to sleep in the mid-70s. Like, it's something straight out of the movie Dark City. And this right here is what no one talks about.
March 16th, 2018. The U.S. government's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, commonly known as DARPA, announces a bold initiative to develop what they call next-generation non-surgical neurotechnology. It is designed to allow the human brain to directly interface with machines. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
There are explicit programs of DARPA to read and write to human brains.
So what's the next step? Maybe the next step is we can send instructions and information to an actual person from a distance with this kind of technology to let another person control their actions. But that could be something that could be malicious.
We began to look at how you could interface minds with computer systems. The idea being you could fly a fighter plane by pure thought. But it soon evolved into developing a mind control device. They wanted to flip a switch and have everyone respond to a computer program. While they never found a signal that worked universally, they were able to target individuals very well. What better place to disguise a Black Ops secret project than a disguise base at the tip of a peninsula which had always been disguised as a fishing village? Crucially, the former base had an obsolete SAGE radar tower, which broadcast the frequency needed to affect human consciousness. Preston claims programs to alter behavior were tested on the locals. He told how 2-hour crime waves would be triggered or how teenagers were prompted to congregate. Other signals caused animals to charge into town or shut down cars or electronics.
That is a specialized pulsed laser for a plasma afterburner. It increases the rate of acceleration for traditional radio frequency machines. The concept should win me a Nobel in a couple of years.
Activation commencing in 20 seconds. Activation commencing in 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Dimitri! Dimitri!